I've got beer, a shop, and a DIY product to do. Let's do it.
Fine.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Scotian Adventure Mountain Biking. I'm Kyle, and today we're tackling a DIY project. So tonight, we're out in my garage workshop, and I'm making a DIY ammo can wood stove out of this 50 caliber ammo can. I've seen numerous DIY tutorials online, and my inspiration for this stove came from Jeremy at Lone Wolf 902. He is a YouTuber based here in Nova Scotia, does a bunch of bushcraft and wild camping content, and is huge into hot tenting. As a matter of fact, I bought that hot tent off of him. Let's get cracking. So, what do we need to build this stove? We need an ammo can. I picked up this 50 caliber ammo can from Princess Auto for $25, give or take. We need some lengths of 2.5-inch exhaust pipe. This is made for automotive use, so it should be able to withstand the heat of the fire within the box. This will be used as our chimney pipe. The sections will fit together nicely, and we'll be able to vent the smoke out the stove jack and out of the tent. We need a reliable drill and drill out some of the holes so we can get a grinder and a hacksaw in there to cut out some of the pieces of the ammo can so that we can make the door and the flue pipe hole for the stove. We need hardware such as hinges and latches for the door so we can load the wood into the stove. I'm going to use this high heat JB Weld, again used for exhaust purposes and stuff like that, so that I can permanently form the main little stovepipe part to the top of the stove, so that's always in there, and I can just connect the different pieces of stovepipe after that. Going to be using a grinder to grind out and cut some of the metal pieces for the stove and to cut out holes in the stove for the door. Then I got some 16 gauge plate steel to make the door and a couple other little pieces for the stove. Let's get into it. Let's start cutting. Basic design of this stove is really simple. This is my ammo can. This is typically the top where the lid opens up to allow you access. I'm not building it this way. I'm going to build it upside down so that the top is relatively flat. It'd be good for a cooking surface and be good to mount the flue pipe. But also, when I open it, I can dump all the ashes right out onto the ground when I'm done, when everything is cooled off. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lid off of this ammo can, and we're going to remove the rubber gasket out of it, because obviously that rubber is going to be flammable. Not going to make for a very good time in the tent. Very simple, taking a flathead screwdriver and just prying the gasket out from underneath. Now no, with this gasket missing, this lid is not going to seal super tight. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use the wood stove door gasket, a little fiberglass rope, and glue it all in here so that creates a nice seal underneath. We don't get those fumes inside the tent. Back on, and I marked the top of the ammo can here for where I'm going to put the flue pipe. So what I've done is I have this small piece of exhaust pipe, this adapter. It's 2.5-inch diameter, and what I'm going to do is turn it this way. I've got the hole marked out, the same diameter as that smaller edge, and it's going to slide in there, and I'm going to JB Weld all around with the high heat stuff and create a nice tight seal. And then the other exhaust pipes just go like that and up and out the tent. Ta-da! Please don't try this at home. I'm not endorsing this. I'm wearing goggles and stuff, but I mean, obviously power tools can be dangerous, so do this at your own risk if you're gonna do it. Holes cut out. I'm gonna smooth it out with the file here in a minute, but yeah. So it needs a bit of smoothing to fit this down into it. And a few chunks need to be taken off with the grinder, but I mean, we're coming along. we got it to fit. Now it's just tapping it in there and making sure it sits nice. So that's basically what it's going to look like on the top. So you've got the cooking surface here, you got your flue pipe going up here out of the tent. On the front side, this is where the door is going to be. We'll get into that in a minute. Alright, so I shortened this flue pipe a little bit so that it wouldn't stick out quite as far into the firebox. And I've applied the high heat JB Weld to the seam here. So we're going to let that cure. I am running out of time for tonight. So we'll come back and finish this up tomorrow and do the burn-in, I'm hoping. So the high heat JB Weld is set. I'll sand it down later on here. It's set pretty good. There's one or two spots I want to go over again with a second coat. But other than that, it's looking good. So up next, and cut out the opening for the door. I made sure that when I trace out the door, there's enough room for a 1/2 inch overlap all the way around when I put the door on to keep the smoke inside the box and going out the flue. Let's cut this out. Alright, so we got the opening done for the door. I got a 1/2 inch all the way around for the other door, for the final door to overlap it all and keep it sealed shut. Right now it's really jagged, so we're going to file this down so we don't slice ourselves open on the first camping trip. Alright, so I got the stove door cut out. My ears are ringing now. I should have put earplugs in while I was using that grinder, but I didn't. I've got it marked now where I'm going to put the hinge, and I'm putting the hinge on this way. It's going to create a little more room when I put it on the stove so that it pops out a little bit and creates enough of a gap for the 16 gauge steel to close flush against the outside of the stove itself and keep as much of the firebox closed off as much as we can. I got to file down the door, drill the holes for the mounting hardware to get the door on. We're going to look at a little draft closure here on the door as well to control some of the airflow and damp it down tonight. Alright, so some of the stuff I didn't film. After I cut out the door and got everything in place, I used a pop riveter to attach the hinges to the door and to the side of the ammo can. So now, we've got a door opening to our firebox. I just slapped the lid back on it just to show you the progress. I didn't bother filming this stuff. It's just as simple as drilling a hole, putting the pop rivets in, making sure it's all in place, and snapping it onto the ammo can. So as for leg design, I'm going to be using the same material I used to make the door, to make the legs. So these are what the legs are going to look like. I'm going to put a slight bend in them so they go outwards just a bit from the body like that. And the other thing I'm going to do, on the bottom of the leg, I'm going to drill a hole big enough for a tent peg. That way, the chimney doesn't cause the stove to rock back or forth or move around very much. It should stay perfectly still. The bends in these, get them attached to our stove. Alright, so here's the leg bend. Stuff's fairly easy to bend when you put it in the bench vise. You can crease it real nicely right along here to get the bend you want. It's going to go right here. I know I can't show you the hole right now, but I got the hole drilled here. Just going to mate them up with the rivet. And there you have it. Got it attached with a rivet to the inside. And now, let's just kind of show you. It's all coming together. We'll bring you back when I've got all 4 legs on. So it's been more than a day coming back to build this stove. It's actually been since probably February when I started filming this video. Lots of stuff has happened in between and it's just kind of gotten in the way of building it. But as I said, we'll bring you back. We've got all 4 legs on now. There's one on the bottom, but this is the basic shape of the stove. You get the door, load your wood in. So what's left to do now is I got to build or install the latch mechanism to keep the door shut. So for the latching mechanism, I'm thinking I'm going to use this sliding barrel lock. I'm only going to mount it with the 2 mounts here and here, just so it gives me some more room to slide it over. I'm going to put a piece of metal here with a hole in it, slide that over and keep it shut relatively tight. keep the smoke and everything inside the box and up and out the chimney. Let's get that on there and let's get this thing burning. Alright, so we got the sliding barrel lock installed. So, simple as that, and I'll be able to use this as well. Let's open it. I'm going to have to lubricate the hinges a little bit. Everything's still a little stiff. And when it's loaded down with wood and in the tent, it's going to be fine. When it's closed, I just slide. I'm going to have that piece of metal coming out here that this will slide into. It'll be all shut. So, it's not the prettiest, but this is basically an ammo can wood stove. I've got the door latched. There's nothing in it, so it's very light, so it wiggles around a little bit, but it's open. You can put your wood in. I don't have the bottom on right now. Put your wood in, light it up, close it. Like I said, there's no wood in it right now, so there's no weight to it. And I also don't have 10 pegs driven into it yet either. I don't have it in the ground, so it's going to wiggle a little right now. But it does close. It stays shut. There's a tiny, I'd say, 1 to 2 millimeter gap on the door side, but that's fine for the air draft, I'm thinking. I'm also thinking I'm probably going to drill a couple holes in the bottom here for a future modification I want to do. I do want to put a grate that runs along the top here to keep the wood up off of the lid of the ammo can so that it lasts a little bit longer. This is a temporary fix to get into hot tenting. I do eventually want to get a purpose-built hot tent stove. This was a fun little project that anyone can do in their home. I am not advocating that you do this and put it in a tent. Obviously, this is fire inside of a fabric tent. There are inherent risks. All that's left to do now is clean up some of the edges and do a burn and get all the nasty paint chemicals off of it. I go finish assembling this and get it ready for its burn-in. Why don't you guys leave some comments down below, let me know what you think of this build. Let me know if it's something that you may be considering doing yourself. And if you've done this before, let me know what I could do differently or what I could do better to make this last a little longer or be a little better. This is my first time fabricating any kind of kit for camping, adventuring, anything like that. I appreciate you guys tagging along and watching this. It took me a lot longer to get this out than I wanted to. I was hoping to have this out a while back, but it just wasn't happening. But I am glad to have accomplished this. I cannot wait to give this a try. Till next time, everybody, adventure is out there. You just gotta go find it.